The Commando is the eyes of the team and has the ability to cut down weaker zeds with little problem. The Commando is a great addition to any team. So let's take a look at the Commando's starting gear and weapons. The Commando starts out with the AR-15 varmint rifle, high explosive grenades, the 9mm pistol, and the KF BAR knife. The AR-15 varmint rifle weighs 4 pounds, costs $200, and is semi-auto or burst fire. The AR-15 does 30 damage per shot. In burst fire mode, it does 250 damage per second, and in semi-auto mode, it can do up to 500 damage per second. The AR-15 is a pretty strong rifle that can cut down weaker and medium-sized zeds with little effort, although there are people who do not like the sights or the magazine size of the AR-15 and would like to upgrade it. The high explosive grenades that the Commando has do 300 damage and cost $40 each, and the 9mm pistol as well as the KF bar can be strong secondary weapons if you go with the fallback perk. The first weapon that the Commando can buy is the Bullpup assault rifle, costing $650 and weighing 6 pounds. It is either fully auto or semi-auto. The Bullpup does 30 damage per shot, 330 damage per second if in full auto, and 300 damage max in semi-auto. Overall, the Bullpup is a pretty solid upgrade from the AR-15 since it has the increased magazine size as well as equal damage, and the full auto capability can help you cut down zeds faster. But overall, for me, it seems a little bit unnecessary since you generally don't go for it. You can just hold out another round and then go for one of the better weapons. The next gun available with the Commando is the AK-12. The AK-12 costs $1,100, weighs 6 pounds, and is either full auto or burst fire. The AK-12 does 40 damage per shot, 400 damage per second in full auto, and 666 damage in burst fire. The AK-12 is a solid upgrade from the AR-15 or the Bullpup, and I personally quite like it. The next weapon available to the Commando is the M16 M203. The M16 weighs 6 pounds and costs $1,200. The M16 rifle, part of the gun, does 30 damage per shot. It can do 349 damage per second, and then with the M203 grenade launcher on the bottom, the grenade will do 225 damage on direct hit and then an additional 225 damage on explosion. At max, the M203 grenade launcher can do about 270 damage per second. The M16-203 is a very fun gun to use, although I don't find myself taking it very often since the M16 portion seems to be outclassed by other assault rifles, and the grenade launcher part of the gun is quite handy, but I find myself not using it all too often. The next gun available to the Commando is the Scar H, costing $1,500 and weighing 6 pounds. The Scar H is either full auto or semi-auto. It does 55 damage per shot. In full auto, it can do 573 damage per second, and in semi-auto, it can do 550 damage per second. The Scar is a very solid weapon that should be in every Commando's arsenal, as it offers high amounts of damage as well as good accuracy. It does, however, suffer from its small magazine size. The next weapon available to the Commando is the Stoner 63, weighing 9 pounds and costing $1,500. The Stoner 63 is only available in full auto. The Stoner 63 does 30 damage per shot and can do 455 damage per second. The Stoner is known for having an extremely large magazine size compared to the rest of the guns, as well as having solid damage and good for cleaning up small enemies quickly, although it does suffer from a very long reload time. And then the last of the Commando weapons is the HM Tech 401 assault rifle. This assault rifle weighs 7 pounds and costs $1,500. It is full auto all the time, although its secondary fire shoots the healing dart. This rifle does 35 damage per shot, up to 438 damage per second. When shooting enemies with the healing dart, it does 33 damage per second, and when shooting allies with the healing dart, it will heal them for 15 hit points for each dart that they were shot with. Overall, the HM Tech 401 is a great assault rifle to add to the Commando's arsenal, as it allows you to have a lot of utility for the team, healing your allies, as well as it has pretty solid stats overall. Commando's passive perks include perk weapon damage 1% per level up to 25%, seeing health bars and cloaked zeds at 10 meters plus 2 meters per level up to 60 meters at max, zed time extension 1 reset per 5 levels up to 6 resets, reload with perk weapons 2% per 5 levels up to 10%, night vision capability, and lets other teammates see cloaked zeds. Overall, the Commando's perks are useful, mainly being able to see cloaked enemies that the team may not see right away. as well as night vision capability can help you in some of the darker maps, and the Zed time extension can help immensely at the higher levels where everybody has some sort of Zed time perk. So now that we've looked at the Commando's equipment, let's take a look at some common builds and loadouts. Honestly, no matter which build you go with the Commando, you will essentially be doing the same job regardless. Your job as the Commando is to clean up smaller enemies and medium enemies while providing support as vision and helping with larger Zeds. At level 5 you can take tactical reload or high capacity magazines. Both of these are completely based on personal preference. I personally like tactical reload a little bit, but I will switch to high capacity magazines in between rounds, and I will get to that tip in just a second. Tactical reload will give you bonus reload speed, while high capacity magazines will give you a little bit of a larger magazine. Neither one of these is particularly greater than the other, and that's why I say it's completely up to personal choice. At number 10, you can pick between fallback and impact rounds. I would say you would always want to go fallback for the first 2 to 3 waves and then immediately switch to impact rounds, as fallback will give you more damage with your knife and pistol, meaning that you can save some ammo for the upcoming rounds and save up cash easier so that you can buy a better assault rifle. But impact rounds is much better in the later rounds, giving you the bonus stumble damage. At 15, you can pick between Tenacious and Prepared. I would say Tenacious can help you out more in the early levels, but Prepared will help you out more in the later levels. So I would go with Prepared more often, but having Tenacious early is useful. Having that bonus health just to make you a little bit harder to kill is always handy. At 20, you have the choice between Hollow Point rounds and Eat Lead. I always go Hollow Point rounds as it gives you much more control over the guns with their recoil, as well as bonus damage will just really help you out. And then at 25, you can pick between Machine Gunner or Tactician. There is a difference between Machine Gunner and Tactician, but both of them being fairly good and neither of them being really greater than the other one. I personally like Machine Gunner a little bit more as it gives you the bonus damage and the bonus rate of fire, but Tactician can help you extend the length of the Zed time more, which could also be quite handy for your team. The second build for Commando, this build focuses on all-around damage as well as just utility for the team, but it doesn't really struggle in any section except for against large Zeds, which the Commando naturally struggles against anyway. The second build that we have here involves either going tactical reload or high capacity magazines, your choice, going with fallback early and then switching to impact rounds later, sticking with Tenacious to give yourself a little bit more tankiness, going with Hollow Point rounds for the bonus damage, and then going with Tactician or again Machine Gunner depending on preference. Once again, this build is not very different than the other Commando build and really isn't better or worse at anything than the other Commando build that I listed. And then the last build that we have here is the Machine Gunner, going with high capacity magazines, going with fallback early and then switching to impact rounds, going with Prepared, and then going with either Hollow Point rounds or Eat Lead, it's your choice, and then going with Machine Gunner. This build is made to clear out tons of small enemies without worrying too much about the big ones or the medium-sized Zeds. This build doesn't seem any more or less popular than the other ones, although it seems to be favored more when there is limited damage focused towards smaller enemies. So, let's look at some of the loadouts that the Commando has. The first loadout is my personal favorite loadout, which is going the Scar H as your primary weapon to deal with most things. The AK-12 is a backup weapon for once you run out of bullets with the Scar. And then your choice of weapons, either picking the Medic Pistol for utility for the team, C4 for more burst damage, or the Katana for more defense. Whenever I'm playing by myself, I go with the Scar H, the AK-12, and the Katana, but whenever I'm playing with a team, I usually go with Medic Pistol, and then either dual pistols or a Deagle, just for the bonus damage. The second loadout is involving the Scar H, once again being used as the primary weapon, the HM Tech 401 Medic Assault Rifle, for backup damage as well as utility for healing, and then your choice between the Medic Pistol for added healing on top of your assault rifle healing, the Desert Eagle for more damage, or dual pistols for just basic utility. The third loadout is the Scar H and the Stoner 63. This build seems to be more popular when there are a lot of smaller enemies and not a lot of teammates that can deal with small enemies quickly. Mostly using the Stoner to deal with small Zeds, and then switching to the Scar H to deal with medium Zeds. And then the last loadout that we have is the Scar H, once again being used as the primary weapon, the M16-203 being used as a secondary weapon, mostly for the grenade launcher, dealing explosive damage and giving you a little bit more burst damage, And then once again your choice between medic, pistol, C4, and katana. Overall, the loadouts generally function the same, with the Commando's job being very straightforward. You're there to clear out zeds as quickly and efficiently as possible, and this applies mostly to the smaller zeds and to the medium-sized zeds like husks, sirens, bloats, and gorefasts. Everything else that's smaller like clots, stalkers, and crawlers you can clear out extremely easy. However, the Commando doesn't really have that good of a time when fighting Skrakes or Flesh Pounds. When fighting Flesh Pounds, you should always go with your grenades, as Flesh Pounds take bonus damage from explosions, and your hand grenades deal some of the highest amounts of explosive damage. You can also use the M16203 against them, and against Skrakes, you don't really have a particular weapon that's good against Skrakes, but you can just generally spray at them until they die, or wait for another teammate to kill them. So here's some tips with the Commando. First off, you can switch between perks in between rounds, changing to all the ammo perks to get a larger first magazine in your gun, and then switching back to all your standard perks. This can help quite a lot with a lot of weapons, as you can get 50 rounds in the SCAR, 75 rounds in the AK, 75 rounds in the M16, 50 rounds in the AR-15, and 100 rounds in the Medic Assault Rifle, as well as 188 rounds in the Stoner. The second tip with the Commando is crouch often. This will help you out. You don't need to be crouching all the time, but where you want to be at the front of the lines the majority of the time, crouching will help teammates shoot over the top of you, as well as will stabilize your guns, letting you have reduced recoil and making it much easier to hit targets. The third tip is always aim for the head with the Commando, as the Commando's guns can do quite a lot of damage very quickly to just about any Zed if you shoot them in the head quickly. Being able to decapitate husks, as well as sirens, bloats, and gore fast with little effort, and being able to one-shot most of the smaller enemies even on the higher difficulties. The third tip is always use your grenades towards Flesh Pounds, as you can do massive damage to them even on higher difficulties on longer waves. You can still blow them up fairly quickly, or at least deal a lot of damage to them before you have somebody else on your team, either a demolitionist, a gunslinger, or a sharpshooter, deal with them quickly. And the last tip for Commando is that any weapons that have a semi-auto option are usually best used in semi-auto until enemies become close or there are large enemies appearing, then switching them to full auto or burst, whatever it may be, except for with the AR-15. It's best to keep it on semi-auto for the majority of the time so that you can keep up accuracy and damage. So this concludes my guide of the Commando. The Commando is a great class, especially when providing utility and vision for the team. Having at least one Commando, if not two, is pretty much essential on the higher levels, as seeing Stalkers becomes immensely useful, especially towards classes that need distance like the Sharpshooter or the Demolitionist, as well as the Commando provides good firepower against all small and most medium Zeds, and only really struggling with larger Zeds. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you guys all next time when we take a look at the support. Until then, stay cool, and bye.